Hey guys, welcome back. This is Shinoo at InnoKinetic. You know, Lotus has built some really amazing sports cars in these last several decades. You know, these are cars that redefine performance, cars that were really lightweight for their class. You know, cars that delivered performance that actually even went beyond the original roots of the company or ethos of Lotus. So it's been a remarkable several decades. Today's video is about choosing which of those cars is my favorite or what I would consider the very best Lotus. So when I'm talking about the best, I'm not necessarily talking about which is the fastest or which is the rarest or which is the one that's the most extreme. No, those are not the criteria that I'm using to define best. So what does the best mean? To me, there's a few criteria that really helps define that, and they are performance, right? The car has got to deliver really amazing performance. The car should have exceptional feel, like you've really got to be able to feel what's going on with the car. It should be reliable. You know, we're in a modern age where we take reliable cars for granted now because we're not having to wrench on them every time we need to drive. So I believe reliability is important. So, and then finally, I think something like safety, you know, is something in this modern age is still important enough, and that's something that most sports car guys are thinking about nowadays. Personally, I think if you miss any one of those categories, then, you know, the car's a bit, you know, compromised for my evaluation of the best. You know, honestly, if you can hit on every one of those categories, you've made some magic. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So a car that made my list, and not all the Lotuses of the last 40 years have made my list, but so everyone that's on this list I actually do like. But the bottom of my list right now, frankly, is the Lotus M100 Elan that came out in the early 90s. This is a beautifully designed car. Peter Stevens designed that car. You know, amazing design. It has aged beautifully. The car still looks good today. You know, the performance of the car was really good. The handling was actually amazing. And I remember everyone talking about how with front wheel drive, Lotus delivered some handling that was pretty unprecedented for its era. But that is actually probably why it was also hamstrung on my list, because I prefer a rear wheel drive car for the purity of the steering feel that comes from a rear wheel drive car. So it's the lowest on my list for that reason. The next car on my list, another iconic Lotus, one that really is loved by many, and that is the Lotus V8 Esprit. The Esprit, as most of you guys know, made famous in James Bond movies and Pretty Woman. I mean, this is an amazing car. The engine, that V8, was very compact. It was actually a well-decorated engine by the industry. But you know, the Esprit got a bit big, got a bit heavy. The feel of the car started to move away from what I think is the ethos of the company. You know, and then really the real issue in my eyes is the reliability of an Esprit and the V8 in particular. So for that reason, it kind of fell lower on the list. This next car is going to come as a surprise for many of you. And that is probably the car that came out actually very similar time as the V8 Esprit, but the car that really brought Lotus back to its roots. And that car, you know, goes without me even saying, is the Lotus Elise Series 1 car from the mid-90s. Now, this is a wonderful car. It is 100% the iconic car in my mind of the modern era, okay? Great performance, wonderful feel, fantastic styling. You know, the car, it's just a beloved Lotus. I love the Series 1 car. But the issue on that car, frankly, was that Rover powertrain's reliability. And when it's running, it's great, okay? But the reliability aspect of it is is how that car is hamstrung on my best list. So it's lower on the list than my absolute favorite. So the next car, and it's actually two cars that is in the list, is the Series 1 Exige and the Series 2 Exige. So hear me out on this one. The Series 1 Exige, I love the styling of that car. It's one of my absolute favorite designed Lotuses. But it's basically handicapped by that same Rover powertrain that I mentioned earlier. So why is the Series 2 Exige kind of in the same, ranking, if you will? Well, again, I love the styling of the Series 2 Exige. And yes, it's got, great reliability with a Toyota powertrain. Thank you, Toyota. But the issue with that car is it's heavier than it needed to be, or than the car that I personally think is a bit better. So the next car on the list is actually a well-loved, really great Lotus, a car that became more comfortable, more usable, more practical even for many people. And the performance, just absolutely staggering performance, exceptional car. And that is the Lotus Evora GT. So these Evoras took the Elise concept and made it into a larger, more comfortable package. And in doing that, they had to compete with cars like Porsche Caymans, BMW M3s. So all of a sudden, they got themselves into a more crowded space, and they created a car that started to move a little further away from the roots of Lotus, much like the Esprit kind of did in its era. So for that reason, it is also lower on my list. So what's really left, right? Well, here's a car that had to actually evolve in order to get to the top of my list. But it evolved without making serious compromises. And so it almost goes without saying, I think you guys probably figured out at this point, the Series 2 Lotus Elise is the top of the list for me. And why? Well, it delivers the performance. It delivers the feel. It delivers the reliability. It delivers even safety. For a car of this size, with a bit of air conditioning that works on occasion, a stereo that is kind of, acceptable, a roof, doors, it delivered a level of practicality that was pretty surprising for a car in this category. And then another thing that it's hard to deny is that this car, it really competes in a category of one. It didn't have to compete with anything else that was out there. There is no other car in this category, certainly here in North America, that the Elise Series 2 car had to compete with. When you've owned these cars for as long as I have, the last couple decades of owning all these various Lotuses, having serviced all these various Lotuses that we've discussed, having talked with owners who own these cars, having witnessed which of these cars customers continue to own for the long term, and even the cars that people come back to after abandoning and realizing they made a mistake, it's the Elise, the Series 2 Elise, that really bubbles to the top as the car that so much of the Lotus community views as the very best Lotus of the last 40 years. Again, we know the Series 2 car was not the most powerful. We know the Series 2 Elise is not the most extreme. It is not the rarest, but it's the one that got the balance right. And so for that reason alone, it's the best one for me. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that video. We'll see you next time.